The crown burned liars. That's why everyone panicked when it touched his head and didn't burn. He was a liar. Everyone knew it, yet the crown chose him. And before sunset, the kingdom would regret everything it believed about truth. Long ago, in the land of Zaraya, there was a kingdom so rich that even the streets whispered gold. But Zaraya had one problem. Its king was dying. King Obadiah III, old, weak, and childless, lay behind curtains thicker than pride. No sons, no daughters, no clear heir. And when a throne has no heir, the kingdom invites chaos. Nobles sharpened their smiles. Generals sharpened their swords. Priests whispered prophecies. Everyone wanted the crown. But Zaraya had an ancient law, older than the castle itself. When the royal blood ends, the crown of truth shall choose the next king. A crown that could sense lies. A crown that burned liars. A crown that had never been wrong. Or so they believed. Far from the palace, in the poorest corner of Zaraya, lived a man named Kailen. Clever, charming, and he lied like breathing. He lied to eat. He lied to survive. He lied because truth had never saved him. If someone asked, "Did you steal that bread?" Kailen would smile and say, "No, it followed me home." And somehow, people believed him. But deep down, Kailen hated himself. Every lie reminded him that he was nothing but a mouth that could twist the air. One morning, drums echoed across Zaraya. A messenger announced, "All men of the kingdom will gather tomorrow. The crown of truth shall choose the next king." Peasants laughed. Merchants prayed. Nobles trembled. Kailen laughed the loudest. "A crown that hates lies," he scoffed. "That thing would melt my head." He didn't know fate was already walking toward him. The palace courtyard overflowed with men. Warriors stood proud. Scholars stood calm. Princes stood confident. And there was Kailen. Dirty boots, borrowed clothes, standing at the back like a shadow. One by one, men approached the throne. Each time the crown was placed, it glowed, or burned. Some screamed. Some collapsed. Some were dragged away in shame. Then a priest looked into the crowd and pointed. "You." Kailen froze. "Me?" "Yes, step forward." Laughter erupted. Even Kailen laughed. But soldiers grabbed him. And suddenly, the liar stood before the throne. The crown of truth was heavy, cold, alive. As the priest lowered it, Kailen whispered, "I don't belong here." The crown touched his head. Silence. No fire. No scream. The crown glowed gold. The courtyard exploded into chaos. The crown of truth had chosen a liar. How can a crown that burns lies accept the greatest liar in Zaraya? Was the crown broken? Or was Zaraya wrong about Kailen? Because what happened next would terrify the palace. And before night ended, someone would already plan his death. They dressed him in silk, washed his hands, placed him on the throne. A priest asked, "Do you swear to rule with truth?" Kailen swallowed and said, "Yes." The crown didn't burn. That's when he understood. The crown didn't punish lies. It punished self-deception. Kailen knew he was a liar. He had never lied to himself about that. And because of that, the crown accepted him. The High Chancellor, Lord Varin, hissed in his ear, "You will rule for one day only. At sunset, this mistake ends." Kailen nodded. One day. So he used it. His first order, "Open the palace gates." The council protested. Kailen repeated it, calm as a knife. The gates groaned open, and the people gathered like a tide. "Bring me the people," Kailen said. "Not nobles, not generals. Bring me those who know hunger." Lord Varin sneered. "Kings do not invite peasants into royal halls." Kailen looked at him. "Then kings have been starving them on purpose." The poor entered, heads low, voices smaller than their fear. Kailen said, "Speak freely. If anyone punishes you for truth, they punish me." An old farmer tried to flatter the throne. Kailen smiled. "That's a lie you tell to stay alive." A woman stepped forward, ash in her hair. "My son was taken for taxes," she whispered. "They said he would work. He never returned." Another man said, "They charge us twice what the law allows." A mother said, "My husband was jailed because we could not pay." Truth spilled slowly, then fast, and Kailen listened like a man drinking water after years of thirst. He turned to the scribe. "Write the names, all of them." Then to the guards. "Bring the tax records, bring the collectors, bring the judges." Lord Varon laughed. "You'll drown in paperwork." Kailen replied, "Good. Let me drown in truth for once." Ledgers arrived, heavy, dusty, full of quiet crimes. Kailen pointed at a village. "How much did Riverbend pay last season?" Lady Zaraya, the treasurer, smiled. 200 crowns. Kailen opened the ledger. 600? Her smile froze. "The extra is logistics." "A beautiful word for theft," Kailen said. He tested 5 villages, 5 answers, 5 lies. Then he wrote a list: collectors, judges, guards. He handed it to Commander Rusk, scar-faced and stern. "Arrest them," Kailen ordered. Rusk hesitated. "My loyalty is to the council." Kailen stared. "Then your loyalty is to corruption." The crown glowed. Rusk bowed. "As you command." And the arrests began. Kailen's next order shocked them. "Take me to the prison." Down stone stairs, into rust and darkness, he faced chained men. Many said, "I am guilty." Kailen shook his head. "You say that because hope is dangerous." A man confessed he was jailed for arguing with a collector. A boy admitted stealing bread for his sister. Kailen's jaw tightened. "Release the bread boy," he ordered. Lord Varon snapped. "Theft must be punished." Kailen looked at him. "Then punish the people who made him hungry." He didn't free murderers. He wasn't soft. But he separated desperation from cruelty, something the court had refused to do. Before leaving, a prisoner shouted, "You're a liar!" Kailen paused. "Yes," he said. "That's why I recognize your captor's lies so easily." After the prison, Kailen didn't return to comfort. He left the palace again, this time in daylight, without a parade, without trumpets. Just a cloak over his shoulders and Commander Rusk walking 2 steps behind him, tense as a drawn blade. The city saw him and froze. Some people bowed so low their foreheads touched dust. Others hid, thinking this was a trick to catch disrespect. Children stared with wide eyes because children can feel history before adults can name it. Kailen stopped at the first stall, a spice seller with stained fingers. "How much for a pinch of salt?" he asked. The seller swallowed. "For you, your majesty, free." Kailen smiled. "That's kindness, and also fear." He placed coins on the table. "Charge me what you charge the poorest woman who comes here." The man hesitated, then named a price. Kailen nodded. "Good." He walked to a baker. "How much for bread?" The baker named a price so high the crowd murmured. Kailen tilted his head. "Why?" "Flour is rare," the baker lied quickly. Kailen didn't argue. He simply walked to the flour merchant 2 stalls away. "How much for flour?" The merchant named a normal price, almost half of what the baker's excuse required. Kailen returned to the baker. "So flour is not rare," he said softly. "Your greed is." The baker tried to laugh it off. "Your Majesty, business is business." Kailen leaned closer. "Business becomes theft when children go hungry." He turned to the crowd. "Tell me," he asked, "how many here have skipped meals this week?" Hands rose, slow at first, then many. Kailen looked back at the baker. "You will sell bread at the fair price by dawn," he said. "And if you refuse, we will open your ovens to the street and let your neighbors bake without you." The baker's face drained. He fell to his knees, not from respect, fear. Lord Varon's men, hidden in the crowd, watched with tight mouths. Because Kailen wasn't just correcting prices. He was teaching the people something dangerous. That power can be questioned. Kailen moved through the market like a storm that never shouted. He asked a butcher why meat was weighed with a crooked scale. He asked a cloth seller why poor women paid more than rich ones. He asked a guard why bribes were called tea money, as if corruption needed a sweet name to swallow. Every time someone lied, Kailen didn't rage. He simply paused, looked into their eyes and said, "Try again." And men who had lied all their lives found their tongues suddenly heavy. Before he left, an old widow grabbed his sleeve. She looked at the crown like it might bite her. "My king," she whispered, "will they punish us for speaking?" Kailen answered softly, "Not today." Then he added with a shadow in his voice, "But remember, truth is a seed. Once planted, it grows, even when I'm gone." And that single sentence spread faster than any royal decree, "even when I'm gone," because everyone knew the clock was ticking. One day, one sunset. So the question became, what else would the Liar King dare to do before time ran out? Back in the palace, Kailen called the full council. They entered in lines like snakes pretending to be ribbons. They bowed, smiling, offering loyalty like a polished coin. Kailen didn't sit on the throne. He sat at the council table, same level, forcing them to meet his eyes. Lord Varen spoke first. "Your Majesty, the kingdom needs stability. Your unusual choices are exciting the lower class." Kailen tapped the table. "Say the real words." Varen's smile stiffened. "You are encouraging rebellion." Kailen nodded as if that was a weather report. "And you are encouraging starvation." A general named Kailen slammed his fist. "King or not, you are disrupting order. Soldiers are uneasy." Kailen looked at him. "Are soldiers uneasy? Or are your bribe payments late?" The general's face reddened. "How dare you?" Kailen cut him off. "General, if your loyalty depends on coin, then you are not a soldier. You are a rented blade." Silence. Kailen slid a parchment across the table. It contained supply records. Missing food, missing pay, missing equipment. Signatures at the bottom. The treasurer's fingers twitched. The general's jaw tightened. BLE. Kailen smiled. Small, sharp dot. Kailen spoke calmly. "Here is what will happen before sunset. We audit the granaries, we audit the prisons, we audit the guard payroll. If money is missing, it returns. If names are forged, hands are punished." Lord Varen laughed. "In one day. Impossible. I spent my whole life doing impossible things in one day," he said. "Like eating, like surviving, like staying alive when stronger men wanted me dead." The council stared, because for the first time they saw it. This wasn't ambition. This was experience. Kailen offered them a choice. "I will step down at sunset," he said, "but if you sabotage these audits, if you hide records, burn papers, threaten witnesses, I will stand in the courtyard and tell the people exactly what you did." Varen's eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't." Kailen leaned forward. "I'm a liar," he whispered, "but I'm not afraid of being hated. You are." And that was the moment the council realized. They could kill him, but they couldn't silence him quickly enough. Kailen personally went to the royal granaries with Commander Rusk. The granary master greeted them with a sweaty smile. "All stores are accounted for, Your Majesty." Kailen walked past him without replying. He counted sacks, he checked seals, he ran his fingers along the stone walls. Rusk watched, confused. "Your Majesty, what are you looking for?" Kailen answered without turning. "Truth has a smell," he said, "like rot under perfume." He stopped at a corner where the floor looked too clean, too recently swept. He knocked. Hollow. Kailen looked at Rusk. "Break it." Rusk smashed the stone panel. Behind it was a hidden chamber filled with grain sacks stacked high. Rusk's eyes widened. "This could feed 1,000 families." The granary master stammered. "Emergency reserves." Kailen lifted a seal from one sack. It bore a noble family crest. He turned slowly. "So the nobles were storing emergency reserves," he said, "while the people stored hunger." He ordered, "Load these sacks onto carts, deliver them to the poorest districts, now, and arrest the granary master for theft of survival." Within an hour, carts rolled through the city. For the first time, palace food entered poor streets without being taxed on the way. People cried, not because they loved Kailen, because they had forgotten what fairness tasted like. But fairness is dangerous, because when people taste it once, they refuse to go back to bitterness, and the nobles knew that, which is why their next move would not be political, it would be violent. That afternoon, as Kailen walked back through a quiet corridor, a servant approached with a tray. Head low, steps careful. Too careful. Kailen's instincts screamed. He had survived pickpockets and street gangs. He knew the posture of someone hiding in tent. The servant reached the tray forward. A blade flashed from beneath the cloth. Commander Rusk lunged. Steel met steel. The tray clattered. The would-be servant twisted like a snake, aiming for Kailen's throat. Kailen moved back, fast, clean. Rusk disarmed the attacker and slammed him to the ground. The attacker hissed, "You don't belong here, rat." Kailen stared down at him. "Who sent you?" The man laughed through blood. "A kingdom doesn't need your kind." Kailen leaned close. "A kingdom doesn't need your masters," he whispered. Then he stood and said to Rusk, "Keep him alive. I want his confession at dawn." Kailen walked on, heart steady, but inside, something shook. Not fear, a strange sadness, because even now, with a crown on his head, the world still saw him as the boy who didn't deserve heir. Back in the hall, nobles arrived with gifts and smiles. Lord Varen lifted a cup of wine. "Celebrate your reign." Kailen took the cup, then offered it back. "Chancellor," he said, "you first." Varen's smile twitched. "Protocol." Kailen's voice sharpened. "You first." Varen didn't drink. He talked, he laughed, he dodged. Kailen set the cup down. "Remove it." Later, a kitchen dog licked the spilled wine and foamed at the mouth before it died. The palace learned. The liar king survived because liars don't trust gifts.
Near midnight, a palace orphan slipped into Kailen's corridor. Small, quick, eyes too old. "They're meeting," the child whispered. "The Chancellor and a man from the Iron Regiment. At dawn, they'll force you down? Or end you?" Kailen crouched. "Why tell me?" "Because you looked at me like I'm real," the child said. Kailen nodded once. "Go, and stay hidden." He called Commander Rusk. "Follow Varen," he ordered. Quietly. Rusk returned with one sentence. "They plan your death at dawn." Kailen didn't panic. He only smiled, tired and cold. "Good," he whispered. "Let them bring their knives into the open." Because a liar's greatest weapon is not deception, it's timing. And at dawn, Kailen would set a trap so clean that the truth would fall out like a tooth pulled from rot. At sunrise, Kailen called the people into the courtyard. Nobles gathered too, ready to perform their rebellion. Lord Varen stepped forward with a booming voice. "People of Zaraya, this king is an imposter. The crown is malfunctioning." Kailen raised a hand. "Before accusations," he said, "let the kingdom hear its own numbers." He ordered the arrested collectors brought out. The scribe read ledger totals, village by village, showing stolen taxes. The crowd began to roar. Then Kailen did something risky. He lied, strategically. He pointed at one collector and said, "This man admits the Chancellor ordered the theft." The collector's eyes widened. It wasn't true. But panic is a powerful rope. Varen exploded. "He lies!" Kailen leaned close, whispering so only Varen heard. "Deny it hard enough, and I'll call 3 witnesses who will suddenly remember the same thing." Varen froze, because he knew how lies become law. In that moment, Judge Halvin, one of Varen's allies, panicked and shouted, "Enough! We all benefited! He promised us protection!" Silence hit the courtyard. Varen turned slowly. Halvin realized what he'd done. Too late. The truth had slipped out through fear. Kailen faced the people. "You see," he said, "truth doesn't always appear because men love it. Sometimes it appears because liars get scared." The sentence. The crowd demanded blood. Some shouted for executions. Kailen lifted his hands. "No killings today," he said. The nobles blinked. The people argued. Kailen continued, "If we kill every corrupt man, the kingdom will drown in corpses. Instead, we will do something worse." He pointed to the poor prisoners he had identified. "Release them. Let them go home." Then to Varen and the exposed officials. "Strip them of office, take their stolen wealth and return it to the villages. Banish them from the capital." Varen's mouth opened. "Banishment," Kailen smiled, "is the mercy you never gave." Commander Rusk bowed and carried out the order. Later, the high priest approached, voice trembling. "Why did the crown accept you?" Kailen answered quietly, "Because I know what I am." Everyone else believed their lies were truth. The priest whispered, "So the crown punished arrogance." Kailen nodded. "And arrogance wears perfume. so people call it holiness. As sunset arrived, the council gathered, ready to end his reign. Kailen stood before them and lifted the crown from his head. "You wanted proof this ends today," he said. "Here." He dropped the crown onto the marble. Crack. The glow flickered and died. The magic was gone. Kailen looked at the stunned faces. "No more kings chosen by prophecy," he said. "Choose with your eyes open, and keep them open." Kailen walked out of the palace before the sun fully set. Some tried to bow. He shook his head. "Don't. I'm not a legend. I'm a warning." He returned to the streets, where hunger still existed, where lies still existed. But the people spoke a little more boldly now. The council chose a new ruler, not by magic, but by scrutiny, with the people watching like hawks. And the story spread across generations. Sometimes, the worst man to rule is the one who believes he is perfect. And sometimes the greatest truth comes from a liar who knows who he is.